Shalom, brothers and sisters. This is your girl Sophia Spiritualite, formerly known as Hotep Sophia, also known as Dominique Rebel, and I am here to do. I I said I would not do lessons, but I need to get this information to somebody who can do something with it, and that might be me and it might not be me, it might be somebody else. So I just wanted to go through a bit of what I received from the Holy Spirit this morning. I had a dream which I recorded, and I'll have to upload it later because I can't upload it straight from my phone because of how I recorded it. But anyway, long story short, um, I was back to thinking about the Urim and Thummim. And I am, like I always say, I am new to this. And so, what I wanted to know, and it says we're going to get a higher Urim and Thummim, and I have just been, pondering on how we know if we get a higher one if we don't know what the old one is. And is there a way that we can tell what the old one is so that we can intuit or determine what the new one is? So before I get started, all praise and glory goes to the Most High. Acknowledge, please allow your words to flow through my lips in hopefully a manner that makes sense to someone that could actually do something with this. Of course, always acknowledge the earthly mother for being with me, for guiding me, and for allowing me to have everything that I have. We thank you for the angels and invite the angels to come in and to be with me at this time so that I can get this message out and hopefully it makes sense and it's not just a bunch of ramblings of a crazy person at this point. That's what it kind of feels like. So let's hopefully by the end of this we'll have some conclusion. So sorry for the long opening, but I should have did that first. And um, I was just gonna go in and start talking, but I was like, that makes no sense. Let me get this part out first because there's no point in doing this recording without acknowledging the father and the mother and the angels. And also I forgot to light my candle. So hold on one second. Got to transmute that fire, and we're going to get to this. And all the links that I discussed, I'm going to put them in the description box because I have them saved to notes. And we're just going to go. I'm not going to read everything on every page, but I am going to read some things. And I'll try not to make this too long, but I'd really want to see if anybody else can see what I see, or if what I'm seeing is not really what I'm seeing. Um, or whatever. So, all right, let's get started. So, what is a Urim and Thummim? This is from BibleStudy.org, and it just says Israel's high priest was commanded to carry two things called the Urim and Thummim. What are they, and what do they symbolize? What was their purposes? So it says King James and Old Testament refers to Urim and Thummim only in seven passages. The first place is mentioned in Exodus, and its relation to the unique and special clothing worn by the priests of Israel. You shall put in the breastplate of judgment in the Urim, which literally means lights, and the Thummim, which literally means perfections or emblem of truth. And they shall be upon Aaron's heart when he goes before the Lord, and Aaron shall bear the judgment of the children of Israel. The other places in the Bible it's mentioned is Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy, First Samuel, Ezra, and Nehemiah. God commanded that Israel's high priest wear, when performing priestly duty, an ephod. This was a sacred vestment made skillfully from threads of gold, purple, blue, scarlet, fine twined linen. Placed on each shoulder of the ephod was the onyx stone engraved with six names of Israel's tribe and listed according to their order of birth. It doesn't say that the other side was a white. Uh, See, it doesn't even say. Okay, anyway, let me just keep moving. Attached to the ephod via chains of gold was a breastplate, also referred to as the breastplate of judgment, which Brother Abdullah did a video about that in a live stream, which actually brought this up to me. Made just brought this back into my mind. Him talking about that. So each stone was placed in a gold setting, and each one had the names. The Urim and Thummim were stored in a pouch sewn into the breastplate, which was placed directly over the priest's heart. They were put in this location to be a memorial before God. and also to charge them. The Urim and Thummim were one of the main ways God conveyed his will to Israel, the others being dreams and prophets. Scripture is silent regarding whether or not they were made, what they look like, so on and so forth. So this is obviously from a straight Christian perspective. So for practical purposes, these objects function like something like lots, which were sometimes cast in order to render decision. Jos- Jo- Josephus, who lived from 37 to 100, implied in his writings that the Urim and Thummim were used to solicit the Eternal's will, caused ceased to function 200 years prior to his writings due to breaking God's laws. Okay, that's all this that's it. If you're trying to study this in the Bible, you got to go dig around for these whatever. We're not going to do that. I got a different game plan in mind. So, let's took this is the Jewish Virtual Library. Let's see what they say. And this is where I had the epiphany. Um this is actually the website I saw first. No, no, no. I saw the first one first. I put them in order. Okay. So the Urim and Thummim was a priestly device for obtaining oracles, like oracle cards. Okay. On the high priest's ephod, which is an apron-like garment, lay a breastpiece and a pouch inlaid with 12 precious stones engraved with the names of the 12 tribes of Israel that held the Urim and Thummim. Oh, shucks. I just got it. Okay. By means of the Urim, the priest inquired of Yahweh on behalf of the ruler. They were one of the three legitimate means of obtaining oracles in early Israel: Urim, dreams, and prophets. Urim means lights, okay? Owing to the oracular character of the Urim, the breastpiece, called the breastpiece of decision, I'm skipping some of the precepts. The right to work this oracle was reserved for the Levitical priests. Occasionally, the term ephod is used with reference to the Urim oracle associated with it. The latest period for which there is evidence of use of the ephod Urim is that of David. Subsequently, oracles are conveyed exclusively by prophets. In post-Stelic times, when the Urim oracle was extinct, difficult questions were reserved until a priest could appear with the Urim and Thummim. And after the former uh, prophets died, the Urim and Thummim became extinct, and Josephus, who avers the oracle ceased 200 years before his time. There is no biblical information on the appearance of the Urim, the material out of which they were made, or the technique of their use. The most illuminating passage is the Greek of 1 Samuel 14:41, whose underlying Hebrew is mutilated in received text, conventionally rendered, "Give a perfect answer." Saul said, "O Yahweh, God of Israel, why have you not answered your servant on this day? If the guilt be in me or my son Jonathan, O Yahweh, God of Israel, give Urim, but, or that's lights, but if the guilt is in your people Israel, give Thummim, which is, um, the first term is light, Urim. The second term is, Lord, let me go back to the first, light and, y'all, my brain, it just froze. Let me just pause right here, bring this up so it'll always be right here. And Thummim means oh, here we go. Thummim means perfections, light imperfections, light imperfections. Okay, so back to here. So if, oh Yahweh, give Israel, give Urim lights, if I'm right. But if this guilt is on your people Israel, give perfection. Okay, and that'll make sense in a few minutes. So we're going to go back. So, but I want to point out here, it says they were suitable for indicating which of two alternatives was right. Hence, the inquiries to be cited by them were designed to elicit yes or no answers. The etymology is obscure. What's something from here? Okay, Hence, the conjure that Urim derives from arar, which is to curse, lights, curse, okay, and the Thummim and Tammim to be whole, indication, negation, and affirmation, respectively. So to curse, lights, or to be whole, perfection. Tradition has connected the first term with light or instruction. So instruction, light, perfection, or perfection. Let's see. It says declaration, revelation, and truth. Teaching the truth, treat the pair as um, Henades, meaning true instruction, with a reference to the oracle. An apparent derivative of this meaning, blah, blah, blah. Here we go. The earliest speculation of the technique of the oracle is reflected in Josephus, who states that victory was forecast. Okay, listen to this. Victory was forecast by the shining of the stones in the breastpiece. The Talmudists fancy the oracle was spelled out by miraculous protruding of letters out of the tribal names engraved in the stones. Rashi takes account of making a separate existence of the Urim, making them a document bearing the Tetragrammaton, whose presence inside the breastpiece ensured clarity and perfection. Let's see. Some people say the Urim was a text bearing the divine names placed inside the breastpiece, by virtue of which various letters out of the tribe's names lit up. The Thummim were other divine names by whose virtue the priest was able to combine the letters perfectly into the divine message. The 12 to the names of the 12 tribes. Oh, I got it. Okay. To the names of the 12 tribes, blah, blah, blah. Let me read this about the Shekinah. All right. Only priests speaking by means of the Holy Spirit and upon whom the Shekinah rested could invoke them. The inquirer had his face directed towards the high priest, who directed himself to the Shekinah. One did not inquire either in a loud voice or silently in his heart, but like Hannah, who muttered her prayer. Only one question. Let me see if that helps. Only one question. No, that makes it more confusing. Only one question was to be put at a time if it were asked, and only the first question would be answered if two were asked. Okay. However, if the occasion required two questions, both were answered. Unlike the decrees of the prophet, those of the Urim and Thummim could not be revoked. Only a king or head of Sanhedrin could inquire from the Urim and Thummim. The division of the land was effected by means of the Urim and Thummim. Saul and David consulted them. The Urim and Thummim ceased to give oracular answers immediately after the death of the first prophets, i.e., the destruction of the first temple. However, according to the Jerusalem Talmud, the first prophets refers to Samuel and David. According to this view, the Urim and Thummim did not function in the first temple period either. Okay, so that's the ish version. Let's move on. So, there was just one page. Oh, Urim and Thummim. I always say it wrong. Urim and Thummim. This is Learn Religions. So, let's see. Here we go. The Urim and Urim and Thummim were used in connection with the breastplate of judgment worn by the high priest in ancient Israel. The breastplate contained 12 stones, each with the name of one of the 12 tribes written on it. The Urim and Thummim were placed in the breastplate, perhaps in a bag or pouch. We find the first high priest Aaron, brother of Moses, wearing the breastplate over the priestly ephod or tunic. Joshua consulted the Urim and Thummim through the high priest Eleazar, and perhaps Samuel wearing the priest's breastplate. After the captivity of the Israelites in Babylon, the Urim and Thummim disappeared and were never mentioned again. The Urim and Thummim were a foreshadowing of the Messiah, Jesus, Yeshua, who called himself the light of the world and who became sacrifice for humanity's sins. Now remember, if you've been following our readings, Jesus has been showing up in almost every single reading as, let's see, um, the Knight of Swords, which says Knight, Sun, Salt, and Body. Okay, um, that might be necessary in a little bit, but I want to just bring that up now. So this is somebody off of Medium. Um, let's see. Okay, let's start right here. We start then with the high priest's ephod, which was made of linen, distinguished him from ordinary priests and lower clerics. It was tied around the neck with gold chains, covered the whole chest, set in gold, bearing the names of the 12 tribes of Israel. Eventually, the UT were quite separate from those 12 stones and kept in a Urim and Thummim were kept in a square inside pouch of the ephod, so that the high priest could wear them against his chest whenever he entered the temple. So the UT, oh, that's a good shortcut. The UT was not actually sewn into the breastplate. It could have been that it was kept separately. All right. So classic texts maintain there was two sacred stones of onyx used to give an affirmative or negative response to an inquiry of God, and perhaps by means of reflected light, blah blah blah. Let's see. Rudolf Steiner said this. Okay, I didn't even read this part. If a Hebrew priest wanted to discover whether a certain action was both good and wise, he made himself receptive to the forces of the UT. The result was that a certain harmony between the morality and intellectuality was induced. Magical effects were produced by means of these symbols. A magical link was established with the spiritual world. Our task is now to achieve in future incarnations through the inner development of the soul the effect that in earlier times was produced by these symbols. Okay? So let's see. All right, etymology is uncertain, but most commonly Urim is derived from Hebrew for light or to give light, and Thummim was completeness or perfection, faultless, innocence. So we have the intensive plural, light, perfections, or revelation, truth, perhaps fire and truth. Okay? The motto of Yale University in the USA, that's where we're going next. Light and truth is taken from such translations of the UT. So let me just say, I think that they know what it is. And I also think that I know what it is, and I'm going to tell you in just a moment. But I wanted to get to this point. At Yale University, these are techniques that they have been using, light and truth. Okay? Light and truth. We're going to get to that. I know this is taking a while, but I got to give you some sort of precepts on this. And this is how I do my research. Okay, here we go. Here it is. Greek translators read Urim and connected it with the Torah, rendering the word doctrine. So that, for example, according to this person, um, a high priest wearing a Urim and Thummim is given as a high priest clothes in doctrine and truth. Okay, so let's just take a pause. If the Urim is connected to the Torah, then what else is it connected to? Something I say every single day. I will, if you don't know, you- if you don't know, you're gonna find out in a minute. There was something that, let me see. Let's see if any of this is relevant. Okay, wait a minute. But they are mentioned as being familiar to both Moses and to the people, an inheritance from the time of their ancestors. Okay, so if you know what that means, you know where I'm going with the Thummim. Um, let's see. I think it was one more thing on here. Okay, here we go. According to the Jewish Encyclopedia, the ancient most of the modern explanations of these instruments through which Yahweh communicated with his chosen people. Now, remember, the Urim and Thummim was used for communication, all right? Are either stones, sacred dice, or little images of truth and justice, such as are found in the necks of the Egyptian priests. The tablets of destiny mentioned an account of the creation, gives another explanation. Hold on, let me see. Um, Wait, it has been thought possible that the mythological account of the tablets of destiny, which rested side by side on the breast of a god or possibly a king, and the Old Testament UT, both shaping the destiny of a king and a nation, revert to the same source. This is probably true. Um, Let me see. Um, that's not really. We don't need to talk about that. Let's see. Let's see. Any of this. I want to see if it talks about the Thummim, but I want to point out that it doesn't talk about the Thummim at all. The Urim, I think we've pretty much made that connection, but the Thummim, it doesn't talk about that at all, and I really haven't seen it talk about it all. I just made the connection based on what the Holy Spirit told me. Ah, wait a minute, freeze. From this analysis, in Sumerian, Urim could have meant height reducer or distance shortener. Similar, Tumim could mean Samash or Yahweh bringer. As unsubstantiated speculation, the UT might have been small technical devices for affecting communication at a distance between Aaron and Yahweh. Yahweh. Okay, that's the Tumim. So we're almost there. Um, with these people, they just don't know how to do any of this research. Um, so let's see. The next thing is I think that's enough from here. Wait a minute. Okay, I don't know who that is. Church of Jesus Christ Christian. Okay, who that's we ain't talking about that. In 97, no. Okay, all right. All right, that's enough from this article. I think maybe some of y'all might be catching on. So, I just brought this up to say this is what the Gentiles think it is. Okay, it's a literal like a physical stone because the Gentiles are very much rooted in physical. Everything has to be physical. And while I do think that the Urim, Urim and Thummim are physical, they are not stones that you can buy for $33 on masonictokens.com. Okay? Can we I just like to I need to I feel like I need to say that. I feel like I must say that. If that ain't what it is. Okay? So, let's go on to the next article. So, I mentioned this for a second, but I want to read this to you. It says Urim and Thummim, the model of Yale in light of skull and bones in the Jesuit order. So I'm not into gematria that much, but I just wanted to point this out because I didn't realize that. Um, so if you have gathered this much wisdom, it probably does not escape you that our school motto is Urim and Thummim, which is Hebrew for Lux et Veritas, which in turn is just Latin for light and truth. Emblazoned on the Yale seal are the two ancient languages. The words convey most concise and rudimentary. All right. This is from Wikipedia, but I want to read this person's response. So, I just want to point this out because, like I said, I'm not really into gematria, but Lord, Aaron, Skull and Bones, Y25, these numbers all mean something. But and I'm going to really read this one. But the natural man receiveth not things of the Spirit of God, for they are foolishness unto him, neither can he know them, because they are spiritually discerned. So, um, the book reads when you read it. I thought this was very precise. So let's go on to the next one. I'm not going to dwell too long on this. I'm getting to the punch in a second. So this website, if you're familiar with the Rota Mundi Tarot, that's what I use for the night readings. This is the website of the actual author. And I'm telling you, this website is extremely difficult to find. It doesn't come up on search. You have to really be able to find it. And it's dwellwithprudence.com. And this So, okay, so now if you're familiar with the deck, we use it for our nightly readings. You will see that this thing is extremely intense, like the deck is. And so, I just want to read a little bit of this because it's kind of hard to read. So, let me see. I'll just scroll in a little bit so you can see because it is pretty small. Um, so the objective of this book is to provide a functional means of your using the Urim and Thummim in conjunction with the breastplate of judgment to assist in decision-making process. The Judeo-Christian believer will find this method of divination superior to others because it encourages the inquirer to use the Bible to develop solutions for life's problems. Like all forms of divination, it can be done for meditative or recreational purposes or as a way of exercising the mind and improving one's problem-solving skills. This book is structured to allow immediate use for the breastplate of judgment. After using the Urim and Thummim to select the tribe of Israel, you can immediately turn to the corresponding chapter and begin analyzing the information. So this guy has a book where you use the Urim and Thummim that he designed to pick a tribe of Israel, and then you go into the book and it tells you about the tribe. Now, one thing I can say is this man's research is extremely thorough, much like the Swart guy in the books of immediate magic and the names and all that. This is a Kabbalist, and again, he's extremely thorough. So it's a lot in there, and I'm also seeing like what's not there, but just for purposes of this video, it's a lot in there. So he does have one of the books for free on his website, so you definitely want to maybe come and check this out if you haven't bought a Rhoda Monday deck. Even if you don't do the cards, the actual book that goes with the deck is extremely valuable information. So I'm going to go down here to the bottom where it says divination is a process that relies more on the art of interpretation than it does on a random selection of concept. The Urim and Thummim were only prescribed method of divination authorized in the Bible, and the high priest used them to obtain guidance from God. The kit is the only functional system for using your Urim and Thummim in conjunction with the breastplate of judgment that is in existence today. This book is truly unique, which is true. Not only does it provide the functional method for using the breastplate with the Urim and Thummim, it also presents a Judeo-Christian based system of palmistry, dream interpretation, and tarot card reading. So let me show you his Urim and Thummim and why I think it's close, so very, very close. But he missed a little piece, which I now know, I think, the whole thing, or I have a lot of clarification on this. So here's this kit. It's $18. You can literally only get it on if you go to his website and order it. There's no other way to get it. Okay, like I looked, I googled it. It's no way. If you just look for it, you will never find it. You have to go to the website. And I'm not saying you need to order this because I'm going to explain a few things, but I'm just saying this is um this is his thing. So, um, here's what's in it. Where is it? It's at the bottom. Okay, you have a deck of 13 cards, a box that it comes in, a black die, a white die, and a parts bag, basically a bag to put it in. And I'm not going to read this because this is this is just rehashing what I've already said. So when you buy this, it doesn't actually come with the instructions. The book you have to buy separately, and that's probably because nobody would put this out there, and he wanted a way to get this information to people. I totally get that, but I'm going to um now go back and add in my piece. So I'm going to go back to the first page, not the first page. um, we're going to go back to this Jewish thing, and I'm going to explain what I think it is and how I came to my conclusion. So, now that you have a background, the next piece is what is this thing? Okay, so you saw the guy thinks that um, it's a set of dice and it's a deck of tarot cards. one thing he doesn't tell you is what is what. Maybe he does in a book. I'm going to attempt to make this as much sense of this as I can based on the information that I got this morning. So, I actually think that this is not what it is. I think that the light, your Urim, the light, is actually some sort of deck of cards containing 72 cards at least, because there's 72 angels with the 72 names of the Most High on it. I also think that this is used in conjunction with a Thummim, which in so the Urim, in my opinion, is the angels. It's a way of communicating with the angels, which the Torah slash tarot is the primary method of communicating with the angels. That has been for a long time. The tarot, the Bohemians has it. It's all over the place. I'm not going to do any deep dives on that. I just try and bring new stuff people haven't covered. If you need the drops on that, of course, that's a brother Dulacia already did that. So that's the Urim. I believe it's a deck of tarot cards with at least 72 cards, for all of the various names of the Most High. And I also believe that the um, the whoever was in the whoever the high priest was, 9 times out of 10 they were not the person doing the divining, and that is because, in my assessment or in my opinion, they were probably using those runes or whatever they were, the stones, to reflect the answer they were getting from someone else, probably a female. That's just my guess based on other research I've done about how the women are the ones who always held the data and kept it going. So that's the Urim. I believe that is a deck of tarot cards used to um, talk with the light, which the light is the angels. Okay, or the angels are well, when you see a representation of an angel, it's light. So obviously, if an angel is coming to talk to you, and again, Levi always says, if you can go to the angels, it's much easier to go to them than for them to come to you. So if you know that you have this deck of cards and you can use it to communicate with the angels because you go to the angels, then boom, that solves a whole lot of problems. So that's the Urim. Now the Thummim. So in I think I think that since it doesn't say for sure which, I'm assuming that he used the dice as the Thummim. That's not what that is, in my opinion, because it translates as let me go back to the first one because I keep forgetting, but I need to know that part. Okay, so if it translates as perfection, and which literally means perfections. So if it translates as perfection, the only image of perfection we have is in the sky, which would be in the zodiac, which would be an ephemeris. I mean, it could be an astrolabe too, but because I haven't talked about this before, but the one of the books that Raphael, the Archangel Raphael, had with him was an ephemeris, and the ephemeris is a book that contains all of the positions of the planets at whatever time it is. You can look in this book; it's fairly complicated, and let me see if I can pull up the pages of a ephemeris real quick. Uh, Wait a minute. Here we go. Raphael's Ephemeris. I'm just gonna pull that page up. I don't think it has the inside of it, but look at this Bojangling. It says oh no, this is not the history of it. It says by the guy's name was Edwin Raphael. Does that even sound right? Does that even sound right? Okay, so let me see if they have a picture of it. Images. All right, here we go. This is it. This is what the ephemeris looks like. And as you can see, it's a chart with all of the planetary locations. And this is for 2014, but they literally have this book that goes back to the beginning of time. That's the one that Raphael had. This is how Benjamin knew that it was Joseph that he found when they went to the city with Joseph and the 12 brothers. When the brothers went to the city because of the famine, he was able to look in the ephemeris. He probably used the whole Urim and Thummim, to be honest, but I can't, I haven't done any research. Maybe somebody else has the precepts for that, but he probably looked at this ephemeris and he pull out a few cards and was like, "Oh, it's you. You're the person." They say he had a book. He could have had the book and the cards. We don't know, but he had the book, the books, which would one of the books could have been a Torah, and well, it wouldn't have been whatever they called the Torah, the law at that time, whatever they called the law at that time, and or Adam, the book Adam had. It was one of the book was the law, and one of the books was the ephemeris, because basically you can do anything once you have an ephemeris. You know when the planets are going into certain houses. You need to know when the planets are in certain houses to get things done, to do them properly, to make the planet, to work with the planets, to work with the zodiac. But that's why I say the planets, the solar system is the only perfect thing that we as humans can conceptualize. It's very difficult to conceptualize God. God is a very difficult concept. But the solar system is not a difficult concept. Why? The sun does what it does, especially if you have an ephemeris. The sun does what it does, the moon does what it does, always has, always will. One time it didn't, and that one time was a one and done. It would never do that again. So also put this together with the fact that the motto at Yale is light and perfection, or whatever it is, which is literally Urim and Thummim. It's written on their thing. So does that mean that these high level Gentiles, they knew that it was the um the tarot cards combined with the ephemeris? So if that's the case, they use the tarot cards combined with the ephemeris, and that was the Urim and Thummim. Now, what is the higher Urim and Thummim? And so, in my opinion on what the Holy Spirit told me, is that it's your personal birth chart and a personal tarot reading for you. Why? Because it has to be higher than the generic one. So, because like Gentiles, here's what they do: they go to diviners all the time, right? And they have them on staff, they have them everywhere. They go to these people all the time. But what are they asking them about? They're asking them about um how they can make more money, they can this, when they should do this, when they should do that, so on and so forth. They're asking them questions about how they can do more evil. But imagine, for example, if as children of light, we were using these divination tools to do good, to do the will of the Most High, to seek the Most High's face, and to seek His will. And so we use a combination of the perfection of the stars and the communication with the angels to determine when we can do stuff that will please the Father. And so in my assessment, a higher Urim and a higher Thummim is not using it for what the Gentiles use it for, but to use it to understand ourselves and when we should do things for the Most High. That would make it higher than how the Gentiles use it, or even how they use it in, well, because even it says the priests were the only ones allowed to use it. That to me indicates that. The regular people, they didn't know their birth charts. They couldn't go and pull that information on the internet so that they knew when to do stuff. They had to go by what was good for the king. And sometimes that was good for them based on, you know, higher level concepts, and sometimes that was not good for them, because maybe a lot of times, at least with card readings, they only apply to you. They don't necessarily apply to everybody. So even when I do our AM and our PM readings, I'm noticing that I'm asking for general questions that will help everybody, but I'm noticing that certain people are coming up to me and asking specific questions, which is why, when I do my readings, I try to take in as much information as I can from the family. So how do I do that? I listen to the live streams, I look at the community posts, I just look at what people are talking about. So when I do my reading, I'm able to ask the angels questions based on the information that I have, because that's the only way you can interpret it. Is That's why the original Urim and Thummim, they can only answer yes or no questions, because when whoever was doing the divining, they might not have had that whole person's astrological chart. I think that pretty much, I think that was more so a thing that was a Hebrew thing, a Hebrew thing, an Israelite thing. It wasn't necessarily a king thing, although we know that the kings used it because they were the only ones allowed to ask the questions. And whatever information came from the Urim and Thummim, that was the only real law. Everything else was, yeah, we're going to change this. Oh, yeah, we're not going to change this, and this and that. And so, kind of combining this information all together, you have a situation where we have access to these tools. We can use these tools. We have to, use them with caution, use them with care, but we do have them and we have access to them. So, how can you do that? You can do that by having your chart, your chart that you can look at, and that has been interpreted for you, and you can combine that with uh, I'm thinking a 12 card reading, um, that will sort of explain it. And I'm going to do that in the next video. This what was given to me, and so yeah, I think we have our higher Urim and Thummim. I think that we haven't been using it. It's been sort of like on the back burner and so on and so forth. And we've been moving in this direction, but I think that we need to get way more serious about knowing ourselves, knowing our charts, knowing our stuff, so that we can make better use of the information we have access to. Because we don't have access to whatever the Gentiles have, we don't have access to that. We've got bits and pieces, we've got this and that, but one thing they can't lie about is the placement of the sun, is the placement of the moon, is the placement of Pluto. That's perfect. That is perfection. They can't lie about that, because you could hypothetically look in the sky and see, hey, the sun is not here, the sun is there. Hey, the moon is not here, the moon is there. If you had that, the astrolabe or whatever skill, if you had that skill, you could debunk them. However, in order to be given something higher, it has to be something that, number one, they don't have. Number two, if they do have it, they can't use it. Not in the way, not to do righteousness. They could use it, but they would use it the wrong way. So, this is, again, this is my assessment. I'm uh, practically floored by this information. And so I hope that it reaches you well. And I'm also hoping that there are people with more precepts, because, like I said, I'm very, very new. This is just completely uh, divined information. I have no idea if this is right or real, or I know it's right and I know it's real because of how I got it, but I don't have any precepts that would tell me whether this is, I don't have any precepts. And I know a lot of people like precepts, which is why I never wanted to do lessons, because I don't have precepts. I get a lot of information direct. And I find correlating information, and then I make a decision. I'm a Cocovite. I don't lie about that. So, anywho, I just wanted to put this out there. I'm hoping that I can get lots of feedback and lots of precepts on how this works. And like I say, in my next video, I'm going to go through a chart that I made for someone, and what I have been told is the process. I mean, this is quite terrifying. And now I know why it's terrifying, but this is quite terrifying for me. I don't know what people are going to say. I really don't, but I have to give the information out, and I have to just do what I do and do it how I do it. So, of course, all praise and glory goes to the Most High, the King of Kings, the everlasting Father. Thank you for giving us a few minutes just to speak with you, through you, around you. Thank you for turning your face towards us. And again, as always, we just ask for just a few crumbs from your plate, from your table, so that we can make it through this life in the Gentiles world, and not suffer. And not suffer, especially over living the way that they want people to live. Of course, the Holy Spirit, thank you so much for beaming this information in. Thank you for walking with us, guiding us, and allowing us to be receptive to this information. And of course, to the angels, you guys are doing a great job. We really appreciate you. This information wouldn't be available had you not. Made sure that it got into my hands and put it together. And so we truly thank you for all your hard work. It doesn't go unnoticed. We see what you did with the Georgia Guidestones. That was great, and we really appreciate that. So, of course, spirits, you're invited to go in peace. Beloved viewers, you're invited to be in peace, and always remember the Most High is your peace. Shalom, everyone.